there's just times when like one person can't handle everything or like two people can't handle everything. It's like I would be on stage with a fucking baseball bat, like straight up next to the band playing, making sure kids are staying in line.
What is up, my friends? Thanks again for tuning in. This is the Scoped Exposure Podcast. I think if you're an avid fan of this show and you've checked out all the episodes, when it comes to like maybe name dropping or talking about a band that has really been influential to me in like very odd ways, there's no band as far as associating with a member that I can't think of anyone else other than Easy Money. And I've wanted to have Troy on the show for a long ass time, and we're finally here. We're making it happen. I've just been a fan of his projects and just his vocal styles, and like just seeing how much that he's done, even from an outsider's perspective, of putting on for a scene that I don't think gets enough love. It was very much a must for me to make that happen, especially as we're heading towards the end of our third season here. But without further ado, I got Troy from Two Guns and X Easy Money on the Scoped Exposure Podcast. Thanks for joining me, my friend.
What's up? What's up? Good to be here. Yeah, like I'm glad that we've finally connected. And I'm glad it's at this time. And I'm glad it's at this moment because timing's everything. And I think up until this moment, it's been a wild ride. So I'm ready to get into it.
Hell yeah, brother. So before we get into any of the music chats, we have to check a bev. It's a must. You're going for a swig, but how about you talk about a little bit about what your
American classic right here. You can't go any meal without a Coke. You need one. It's just the number one bev, and the reason why is because it tastes good to chug, and it's just the Coke. Like like cola. It is what it is. Like
it is what it is.
Cheers.
Are you a Coke aficionado where you go somewhere and they only have Pepsi and you're like, I guess I'm not drinking that today?
I'm not picky. I'll drink anything. Like I'll give it a shot. If I don't like it, then I'll be like, eh. But I'll definitely be like, if you have house brands or whatever, like whatever works.
Right.
I'll just like order like fucking mixed beverage or something,
Yeah. Yeah. We had my in-laws over and we ordered some pizza, and there's an Italian grocery store just down the street from me, and I got I don't know if you had Brio before, but it's in a glass bottle. It's just like an Italian Coca-Cola. That goes really well with pizza, but Coca-Cola is like the ultimate, hero to die with. So
yeah, it is.
So I'm drinking something that I think actually, because we've had some times where we've set it up and we haven't been able to make it work, but I think this is the bev that I was supposed to drink the last time we were scheduled to do this, but finally doing it. So the brand's called Zoa, and it's a energy drink with zero sugar, and it's a cherry limeade flavor. Never had it. Going to be going in, blind with the taste buds, and we're going to see how it goes. But I need it's in the middle of the day. I need a little pick me up. Get into it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bev check where I come from is like favorite beverage. You're trying to do beverage.
Yeah. Well, I'm a bev aficionado, and I need try the new water. So cheers to you, man. Really excited to finally be doing this.
Let's go.
Also, cherry limeade is like such a fantastic color combination.
Fire.
On its own, great. Together, all powerful. So Troy, usually when someone who's on the show here for the first time, they've never, talked about I guess, their background. I always get to kind of pick your brain about like your origin story when it comes to like hardcore music or heavier music. So talk to me about like kind of what initially put you on the path and, led us to this very moment right here.
I mean, like I was born in 94, so I'm 29,
Mhm.
right? Growing up, like my mom was like full on punk, like spiked head, type deal.
Okay.
My father was hair metal. I grew up around that. So fast forward into getting like middle school era, I'm starting to hear bands on the radio that obviously like I'm into new metal, I'm into all this stuff that everyone's into. And I'm starting to hear from friends that there's like grind bands around. There's like this
Mm.
different style of music. And that's middle school. So like around middle school, I remember one of my friends, and his name was Andrew Flores, took me to a grind show and it ended up being Harm's Way with a bunch of grind bands in a
Oh, okay.
storage unit. And it was like early on in their career. And it was pretty nuts. That was my first exposure to it. And then we graduated to high school, different set of friends, didn't see him again for a long time. Um, and at that point in high school, it was like I kind of knew there was like three people at my school that like listened to heavy music. You could just tell, um, at least in my grade.
Mm.
So those became that became my circle for a while, and we would search for like the most violent, extreme videos we could find of live shows to
Hmm.
find bands to listen to. So mainly it's more about like the discovery and like falling down the rabbit hole. I feel like I fell down the rabbit hole like freshman year was just like the start of it. And then I was really heavily and still am into deathcore, death metal, like extreme music, grind, anything shocking, I love. And that
Mm.
goes for hip hop too. Like both sides of the spectrum. If it's ignorant, I love it.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of curious about like the why behind if it's so like does stuff that's kind of like middle of the road or like it pushes a little bit of boundaries but not like I'm curious if there's reasons that if it doesn't push enough boundaries or like is that extreme it might not like tickle your fancy
There's
as much.
there's too many of the to me, too many of those types of bands sound the same.
Hmm.
When I'm shocked by music or when I'm, caught off guard or where I pique my interest, I'm interested, is rare. And that may just be me like being old or whatever, getting older or whatever. But I just find that like there's so much that doesn't push the barrier. It's easy to consume. Everyone loves it. Great, awesome. Some of it's got good parts, like great, but the stuff on the fringes, it's overlooked, is sometimes like the best music.
Yeah. And did you feel that way even like when you were first discovering everything?
I was digging as deep as I can to find like I didn't know anything about hardcore at all. Like
Right.
I didn't know anything. And I really didn't learn until, like old 18 years old, right? 19, getting into like seeing politics and things like that. Um, at that age, uh, that's a tough question, man. Like I just thought like there's always got to be something heavier or there's always got to be something crazier that I haven't heard. And there always
Right.
was. There always will be. There's always going to be someone pushing the boundaries, and I'm just a fan of that. I like
Right.
that. Like even at work when I work, I push the boundaries of what I can do at work. You know what I mean? Like that's my lifestyle is that's how I feel about the music that I listen to as well. Needs to match up.
Yeah, that's so interesting to me because I think that there are definitely, and I don't think everyone has this trait where, they might, I almost think of like there's different tiers of like, someone discovering hardcore for the first time, like, especially if they're getting into it like in 2024, you might, listen to like a lot of the like the main flat spot roster or like certain bands that are really having a meme here or like a crazy live show.
Commercial success,
um
yeah.
yeah, but I think like at least for me when and this kind of goes into where we'll go eventually, but like Easy Money was a band where like I didn't know any other bands from Arizona, and like I think you guys were just doing something that was now looking back, I think you guys were way ahead of your time when it comes to like just songwriting and just different things. But even just like different ways that you guys would like do shit, like you mentioned how you and your friends would just look at like mosh like music videos and things, and like
We would write
and you guys had that on like your Bandcamp, and I've never seen that to this day from any other band.
We obviously heavily influenced by like Ruction Records bands, and like there's some labels out there like early Trustkill stuff's heavy. Like we definitely, at the time we started Easy Money, I know we probably skipped part of the conversation if we're jumping to this right now.
Yeah,
but
well, we can circle back. That's kind of the beauty of this whole thing.
when we wrote Easy Money, we were in our garage living together, me and my roommate, the guitarist for Easy Money, Mookie. He's a great composer. And I was just like, let's write. He's from Osaka, Japan, by the way. I was like, let's write something that would make people move in the way that we see in these videos growing up together, you know? So we were writing what we would want to dance to or listen to, or
Right.
I remember being in the garage, like actually fucking like moshing to the parts we're writing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were field testing it, you know, before it goes out.
Straight up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so funny how you guys like reverse engineered. Like you watch the videos and you're like, okay, let's try to figure out, like, let's mute the video and then like
that
play
way.
it. Yeah. Dude, that's fucking crazy. But like I think to circle back to the first point I was trying to say, like there are some people that are more than content to just like check out the bands that are like popping at the time. But like some of my best friends in the world and the people that I find I align myself with most is like connecting off of like loving a really crazy band that's like from a very small town of like a crazy part of the world. Like that shit is like, that to me is a benchmark of like if someone's really about like discovering new music, not just kind of going with the flow.
Like one example I'll give you, this band Dictator from Sendai City in Japan.
Okay.
It's spelled with a K, Diktator. Heaviest fucking band I've ever seen live. Like the recordings are sick. No one knows them anywhere. They're in the middle of nowhere in Japan. Like I listen to that band daily when I work out.
Dude.
You know, like that's my type of my bag of tea. And I'll also like current bands like this Hat, Human Garbage. Love that band. Like when it comes to like current hardcore, I'm still in the loop with it, and I still like a lot of the bands. Pain of Truth had the craziest set for the children. Like I'm loving a lot of the new shit that's coming out, and a lot of it, as I've grown older and listened to more music, is rehashed versions of older shit.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
So I guess like moving along, let's talk about Easy Money, and then we're gonna move on to some of like the more current projects that you're doing. But like, talk to me about, was that like your first band, like kind of doing shit? Was that like, were you playing guitar and learning how to do that and then move to vocals, or were you like destined to be fronting bands?
So I never ever tried to learn an instrument ever. And I was always intrigued by like ranges that vocalists would hit. That's why I liked extreme music so much, is like, what can you do to manipulate your voice to that caliber to hit those ranges? So I was in bands in high school that were like super like gurgly death metal bands. The first band I ever booked, 2006, I Declare War, right? Like I booked them at the Badlands when I was like 13 years old, 14 years old. Like had my dad, could not pay the guarantee, so I had to have my dad bail me out and then like take my allowance. Like it's like,
are you serious?
I couldn't promote it, right?
How long of allowance did you have to pay for I Declare War as a guarantee at the time?
I don't know, but I know it was worth it because I love it. At the time, I loved it, and like it got me into booking. So epic. Yeah, it got me into booking. It got me into understanding. It got me into realizing, like I booked like Chelsea Grin before they were Chelsea Grin. They were Manhattan Project. Like I did a lot of that shit when I was younger too. But then, yeah, like that's how I got into the booking side of things. That started also in high school. But continue on to where you are currently.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're doing vocals. Has Easy Money at the time, was Easy Money kind of
Okay.
just the same band of brothers doing shit? Yeah, that's where
No,
we're at.
no. So this is where
No.
we're at. So no, they were not. What happened was I went through my high school projects. I graduated high school. I was homeless. I think the day I turned 18, I was like, fuck you, got a head tattoo to my parents. Like, I was homeless for a minute. Like, I had like fucking like $600 to my name saved up, and I flew out to 2012 Sound and Fury in Santa Barbara
Okay.
and watched the Beautiful Ones play and watch who is now Two Guns, and most of them are Two Guns, and watched like a lot of bands. And like I think it was that moment that inspired me to be like, you know what, I don't really fucking care. Like, this is what I want to do. I don't care if I'm like homeless or miserable, whatever, living out of my Civic. Like, I want to just be at shows. Like, I just want to be part of the culture. I want to have fun. I want to, listen. Like, I was relating a lot to the music, so angsty, and yeah, it really was a passionate fest. I'll always remember Sound and Fury 2012. That was like
Mm.
the moment, the defining moment that I knew I need to be like in a band. So I go back to Arizona. I take the band that I'm in more seriously. It was called Illbreed, um, who have now moved on to projects that we'll get into later. But Illbreed was my first band that toured, and we went to Southwest United Fest, which is our like Southwest gathering of bands. I think we hosted 4 of those, or we hosted one of them and attended 3. Arizona hosted 1, New Mexico hosted 1, Nevada not Nevada, Colorado, and each time it would be like a group of hardcore bands from the Southwest uniting to play, right? So we
Yeah.
kept in touch with each other. Long ass drives, like these cities are so far apart. El Paso's so far away. Like, it's not hard, it's not easy to keep our geographical scene together. So we were doing Southwest United Fest a lot with Illbreed. And when Illbreed broke up, it was really unexpected. We're just like, I think the drummer quit and the guitarist was like, fuck this. And I was like, fuck you. And we like broke up. Mookie sends me some demos. Mookie's like, yo, man, like record some vocals to this. And I was just like having fun and recording and like flowing and shit. And um, he's like, let's meet up. So we meet up. He's living at his mom's house. Like, I think we're both like just like down and out. Like, I'm like, let's like go in, get on a lease, try to see if our credit will work. And we moved into this little like fucking house garage thing, and just like for months, just like sat there and wrote and wrote and wrote. And eventually Easy Money was like the end result. Um, and when Easy Money transferred to Two Guns, when Easy Money's time was done, Two Guns was not a transfer. It was like a reset. It's like, I want to reset what I'm doing in hardcore, and I want to have a purpose and a message and blah, blah, blah,
Right.
I want to make sure that my music is more matches my age this time, because we were writing those songs when we were like 21, 20, like way different time, way different life, whole different person,
Yeah. It's crazy to hear just how that band just came out of like, 2 guys just like trying to figure it out and just moving in together, and just, versus like you guys are living separately and then have to meet up to write. I'm sure you're like fucking making fucking chicken nuggets, and then it's like, yo, like, what do you think of this? And just gotta bust shit out.
Bro, we're having house shows in the backyard. We're smoking fucking pounds of weed. We're drinking gallons of Hennessy. We're like sipping lean. The Easy Money writing sessions were the most degenerative times besides Unit 4 of my life. Like, they were epic in the sense that we were young and stupid and having fun and writing an EP that we like end up loving forever. But also bad in the fact that we were just like, no care about our future, no care about the impact it has to tour on your career, or like making money. How do you do that with a band? We had no idea what we were doing ever until like almost the very end of our career as a band.
It's so interesting. It's like,
You're a garage band.
yeah, literally. I think sonically Easy Money was always like very intriguing to me because I didn't meet a lot of people that knew of you guys, especially at the time when I was like first listening. Much later, yeah, people would be like, "Oh yeah, I've heard of that band," or I would listen. But mutual friend of ours, Cam from these streets, I think he said it best and explained it to me. Is like Easy Money is just ADHD hardcore, and you don't have to really understand it. You just have to mosh. Do you agree? Do you feel like there's more to that, or do
I
you
feel
think that's
like
spot on?
EP1 compositionally, yes, the writing structure, there is no cohesion at all, right? And I think that like we tried to push towards cohesion at one point, and we ended up being unhappy with the release rules of the game. And then we were like, fuck it, let's just go full beat down with the 2 song that we wrote.
Yeah.
So um honestly, I love that you said that though. Sonically, I was never happy with Easy Money sonically, except the first release.
Interesting. Do you feel like you just captured some special magic and some chaos, and then you could never
It was the
replicate it?
perfect storm, bro. It was the
Mm.
perfect storm, and like the lyricism, the timing, where I was at personally, like where the band was at. We were all best friends. Like we were doing it because we loved it for fun, not for we owe a label 2 albums or this or
Right.
that. Right? It was pure, right? And then it got diluted over time. And I still think that like I still like I have friends that hit me up all the time. They're like, man, bring Easy Money back, dude. Just do it. I'm like, nah, let it die. Let it be notorious, whatever. I don't care.
Yeah.
Let people wonder,
Yeah.
but
Well,
that's
I appreciate you letting me like punish you so much about this whole project of
no,
yours.
no, it's
But
okay. It's
yeah.
okay.
Um, like just talking about like Menace is off of the first release, I think. But
It is.
that song, I still listen to it to this day, and it's like the fact that you guys put 3 rug pull moments as far as like, oh, the song's over, gotcha, and then you guys did it again. It just is so crazy. I think that's
Yeah.
like, in my opinion, that might be. I would give that like. I would put that in the top 100 most creatively written hardcore songs of all
Thank you.
time.
Thank you.
Obviously, I have a huge bias, but like, I
Thank you.
still listen to that. I'm like, this song could end, but we're just going back for
Do you
more.
do you know what that does to a crowd live?
Oh, dude, it's just a full like body
It,
reset.
it's insane. It's like that track was written. Yes, we wanted 3 stops in it. And yeah, we wanted people to feel like it was over and then hit you with something ridiculous. And I think we achieved it with that song. And that to this day, like that's probably one of my favorite tracks we wrote.
Yeah,
It was easy to write too. Like I remember that when we banged that one out in 2 days. Like just
which is like, I could not name any other songs that start like like there's so many moments of them like
yeah.
this is so
Mookie is a really good guitarist, man. And we would literally sing out the riffs together.
yeah,
Like, I want this to be like like we would talk it out, and then
right,
he'd play it, like he'd interpret what I was saying. So it was almost like conducting the right riff over the right drum pattern type shit.
yeah,
And cool to see that it like turned into a record that I was proud of at the time.
for
Like
sure.
considering the way it was written and
Yeah.
the conditions it was written in, like for sure.
Did you find that it was like everyone was on the same page as far as the writing style? Like as
They
far as you
didn't,
writing lyrics for it, was it like really challenging, or is it like, oh,
they
we're
didn't,
just like
bro. We just went in, knocked it out, did it. Like I think lyrics took like obviously like I went back and revised them, but I wrote them all as we were writing the songs to the parts, and then would record them as we were recording the songs, and then take out what I didn't like, keep what I did like, and then at the end of the day, we'd have like all the vocals I would see in a song, and then we delete what doesn't make sense,
Mhm.
right? And then I track it all as much as I could in one take. When we went to our producer, because this is all during pre-pro,
Yeah.
then we take our tracks to the producer, Ryan Bram, who did the first record. He's like, that's not how I do it. Like you got to do the full song. So I did vocals. I think I, man, like, yeah, we just it was easy. It was just easy. I don't know how to explain it. Like it was just easy at the time. And I remember
Right.
thinking at the time, like, it's gonna turn out bad, blah, 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 like whatever. And it turned out good. So
Yeah. And I think there's definitely like I think there is a little bit of magic because I do really like the second EP as well, but I feel like if I am only getting stuck in a one EP loop, it's always the first
it's
one for
Midas
sure.
touch. Midas
Yeah,
touch all day.
absolutely.
Agreed.
Um, I mentioned this earlier, but like another thing early on that I noticed that you guys did is like any like Easy Money music videos or like visually it was always just like very like 420p or 480p at times like mosh footage, and it was like at the time I don't think a lot of other bands, whether it was hardcore, beatdown, or anything in between, were really like grasping like that was an era where people were like fuck music videos
Yeah.
altogether. So like I know that, you were watching those videos of people moshing, but like, how did you see that as like a way for people to discover you? Or do you think it also created a bit of like I've always had this idea where I think when, when videos are captured of bands, it almost like creates a permission to act that way when you go see that band, if that makes
You're
sense.
going to act the way that you've seen all of our music videos played out once you hear that song.
Yes.
So there's one, I think the most recent one that we released was Nagasake Kings. Um, that video was literally like people's stories, like their story footage combined with HD footage, combined with camcorder footage, combined with whatever we got from tour, like people tagging us and us saving it in a screen cap, and then me editing it all. Like
Oh, so
I
you did all the editing
did
for
all the
Easy.
editing for everything. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I was like, I had an intent in mind, and it was like, let's make the last video we're gonna do, which is not gonna say Kings, the most visceral video possible. Let's make it as like the most bloody, like mosh footage, people get knocked out type shit. Um, and just go out with a bang. And then that was it.
Hmm. Yeah, you guys really did go out with a bang, and like I think just geographically it was like removed, and unfortunately never got to see you guys live. But like, if there's any one-offs, like I'm at a place now where I hope that you let me know, and
I
I
got
will
you, brother.
be there for sure.
I got
Let's transition to Easy Money ends, and then kind of like how soon is the idea of Two Guns like coming into the mix? Was it like a seamless transition, or was there an intentional gap that you wanted to have in between releases?
Easy Money wrapped up the same time Unit 4 did.
Hmm.
So with Unit 4 closing, that was the end of that chapter. Um,
Well, Easy Money and Unit 4 were still happening in tandem to a degree, right?
to a degree, yeah. And then when the unit closed, the band basically just were done, called it quits,
Mhm.
just because
Right.
of, you know, overall things that were taking place at the time. Um, what uh what happened in between was I decided money was probably pretty important because I was broke. Um, I got a job doing inside sales. So essentially selling employees to employers,
Mhm.
and did really well for a long time. Um, Overcame some crazy fucking addiction problems. Um, that was tough. And during that period, Anthony from The Beautiful Ones hit me up. He's like, "Hey, I got an EP written. You want to come do vocals on it?" And I'm like, Anthony, to me, like I grew up 17 years old or 18 years old at his shows, watching him play in The Beautiful Ones, going to Sound and Fury, watching them play. Like I think I thought he was like the greatest guy ever. You know what I mean? Like I was stoked as
Right.
hell. He was the homie. He's a big homie. Like so. I show up to the studio. It's him. It's Eddie. Um, I record some vocals, or I think I try to spit some vocals over them playing live or something, or I don't really know what like how it transpired, but I remember just ending up with that first release of music and recording vocals on it and dropping it like right after I got my shit clean and shit together. And like that was almost a rushed release, I would say, but like it was almost like split up two and two parts too as well, because I had to take a break in between for treatment and stuff. So
Right.
the first Two Guns release was fractured almost. The second Two Guns release, that's when Tom from Trail Lives and Warhound joined us. That's when George joined us from Reasons and from, a couple other bands. Can't think of the names right now. Sorry, George. But besides that, that's how it all came together. So we all wrote the last release together as a band. That's the Two Gun sound that we're going for moving forward.
Right. Yeah. And I think that there's like definitely because there's members of Easy Money like or past that are in Two Guns right now, or are you the only one?
I'm the only one.
Okay, so I might be mixing up a couple of things, or maybe it was at the time, but I think there's like I it's almost like Easy Money. I don't think there should be any other bands that have the attention deficit problems songwriting wise that Easy Money had, but I feel like there's like the best parts of what I would view your presence in that old project. I feel that and then some for Two Guns, and it
Oh,
feels
fuck yeah.
like yeah. So
Yeah.
and it almost it sounds like just with life and all the other things going on, like the beginning of that band was just you turning over a new leaf in your life
Yeah.
and just heading
Everything's
in a
more
new direction.
refined. It's more real. It's more about what it's supposed to be about, which is what you're passionate about. And at the end of the day, like there's a lot of things I'm passionate about, and there's a lot of things that like I can't do wrong in life, or I fuck up and life goes away. And I'm blessed with a good job. I'm blessed with a good band, blessed with good friends, and keep it that way every single day. That's all
Yeah.
I can, you know?
Was there a specific reason that you guys wanted to start off with your first release be called Rest in Peace? Because it was kind of like, here's our first thing. And I'm like, is it just like a one and we're out of here kind of thing? Or I don't know if there's any
Personally,
intent.
I died. So
Right.
I had to be revived, right? So when I was revived, I found out I blew a heart valve, right? So I got
Oh,
one
shit.
left. So I got one left.
Okay.
So it's like it was almost like a death sentence, because like if I have a heart attack again or any sort of like heart issues, I'm dead. Like
Wow.
whatever. Yeah. So yeah, it was almost a joke, but also it sounded hard. So just kept it.
It's also a bit of a power move to come out as your first release, just being like, it's almost like a zombie in a
Yeah.
sense. You're like coming out of the grave. Were there any like specific things, I guess, lyrically that I guess for Two Guns that you wanted to write that were like specifically different from how you wrote for Easy Money, or is it kind of like
Um
you
it
story tell your life
it's
aspects?
for Two Guns, it depends on the song, right? Like for example, Rest in Peace is literally the story of my life, right? But I mean, lyrically. And then there's songs that are, about literally just like every day is a struggle to survive. How are you going to do it? Try to pump you up type shit.
Mm,
Um, Motivational, not motivational, whatever I'm feeling at the moment, right? Lyrically, that's how I write. I just match the vibe to the words and the words to the rhythm. And I think lyrically on the first release, I just had a lot of fun with it. I
mm-hmm.
just had a lot of fun with it. I told a lot of truths on it. You know what I mean? And Ready for War, the last one that we released, is like a really focused like attempt at telling a message. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I definitely feel like sonically, like the latest EP was just everything, just like if we're spread this far for Rest in Peace, Ready for War was like you got it. It literally is like it's almost like self-aware in a way. Like you guys are ready, and here's the proof of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why we named it that as well, because of that. We were like, we're a full band now. Like, let's fucking get it. Let's write good songs,
Mm-hmm.
that we all love.
I
And
think
George recorded it. Like he's our guitarist, so it's easy to get together and meet up and link and write. We're all adults, and I got Sledgehammer going on and doing that shit all the time.
Yeah. Well, I want to get to Sledgehammer in a second because I feel like that's got a story of its own. I did want to talk a little bit more, I guess, like broadly about, you know, Arizona hardcore in general, because I think that there is a like it's so interesting to me as someone living in Canada where it's like, you know, I'm pretty much just like straight north of you. And we're not like dead center or like, you know, but there is an aspect of like if it's not on the coast, it's like I don't give a fuck about it, you know? And a lot of those scenes that are on the coast are naturally going to get those like more tours, but even just going one state over and being in Arizona, it's like it's still like well, we might as well not. So I guess like
Packages skipping us, things like that. Yeah,
yeah,
like we definitely have that problem. Like we've had that problem here and there, but I think overall, like when I was able to book when I had Unit 4, I was taking any and every package. Just let's route you through here. Easier route to San Diego, easier route to LA. Like just come through, trust that we'll pay you, etc. And we kept that going for a long, long, long time. But it's interesting because like LA is the hot spot. Then you have Arizona, and I'm seeing Arizona right now. Like we've got our OG bands like Beg for Life, Get a Grip, War Prison, like the bands that have been around for years. Like they're still around, they're still here, they're still willing to play shows, but there's no offers for them to play shows anywhere else besides in Arizona when we're doing shit. So it's like our scene is strong. There's a lot of young kids that have come along that we have no idea who they are. Like literally like Tsunami came on a Tuesday and it was sold out show, like full of kids I've never seen before that are like 18, 17, 16, like crazy. So I know the potential is there for the scene to get bigger. And I think it's about just like fostering like everyone's welcome type deal. Which I think we've done a pretty good job of recently. And like we got new bands putting on, like there's One Life Taken doing their metallic hardcore thing. Younger bands like Murderate, Heresy, like bands from the reservation, they have shows on the reservation, and we're finally bringing them into the fold, them getting venues, like Play Where You're Allowed, like just we're trying to mesh everyone together so that there's no gap between the scenes. There shouldn't be, because it's all the same music. Like it's all the same style, or it's all the same intent is to have fun, have a good time, fucking mosh.
yeah, of course. And yeah, like I guess like is there every scene has like their own challenges when it comes to like venues and all ages shit, and like I've only gone to one show in Phoenix specifically, and it was at the Nile, but like I didn't know that the Nile and the underground, which is like
Up and
the
down.
basement, it's the up and down. But like I've seen videos in the I think the show that I went to, I think like Dance Gambit Dance was like playing upstairs, and the show I was going to was downstairs. So it's cool that it can run in tandem, but is it a bit of a like a struggle when, like I think did Pain of Truth play at the Nile for their, I guess, Phoenix
I think
date?
so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So is it a bit of like a, you look at Unit 4 and you look at the Nile and there's a lot of space in between there.
Well, bro, like Unit 4 was 3 minutes one way, 2 minutes that way to get there. Right?
Oh, they were very close.
It was literally like a mechanic's parking garage where you go and get your car service. And we convinced them to let us run a space there, not knowing it's a venue. So we kept that alive for 2 to 3 years. Like Unit 4 was like always meant to be, because I needed a spot where I can not only practice my band, but like book bands that come through that need my help, etc. Like I booked Stan there, I booked fucking Danny Diablo, like Scammed Us, like crazy weird interactions that like shouldn't have happened at Unit 4. And then we started doing cross genre shows, right? So Arizona is hard to find places to book at if you don't have the right packages. Unit 4 was a small enough venue to take those packages. that like couldn't like pull enough people. And
Right.
I don't think it cannibalized the Nile too much. You know what I mean? Because like the Nile still gets the big packages. We never
Of
got a
course. Yeah.
big package, but we would book our own shows. We would do our own thing, but just got shut down. Like
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, like it just wasn't meant to last. It was meant to be as a venue. We need a spot. I feel like I've always needed a spot, but as far as Arizona goes, like Nile Theater, Underground, Crescent Ballroom, there's a couple venues, but like it's tough, man. Like the one house show that we had got shot up. Like the venues get shut down because people fight. Like it's just it's way different. It's a Wild West, man. Like
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, literally the Wild West of the desert.
literally.
It really reminded me when I was seeing Unit 4 in the cycle, and since we're talking about the Nile here, like there's a there was a DIY venue in Vancouver, which is like on the west coast part of Canada, and it was called 333. I only went to one show there, but it was the spot for like it was the same kind of setup. It was like a mechanics garage, threw shows there, but like you would have bands play the fucking big theater that's like for 800 cap, and then they would play an after set like a couple hours later
Yo,
there to like 200 kids and have a
that's some
way
Philly.
sicker response,
That's some Philly shit. Like Philly does that. Like every time I've gone to This Is Hardcore, there's always like after shows. Like every time there's a good like spot that can fill out, like you can fill out the spots near a good scene. There's always cool after parties. There's always cool after shows where you, like you said, the kids are more stoked because they got in. They're gonna mosh hard. They're gonna have more fun. Like
Yeah,
I love
no
it.
barriers. Like I think one of the last ones that happened was I think it was like Stick to Your Guns had like a tour package with Candy and See You Space
Dope.
Cowboy and a couple other, like I think Rotting Out. And so I think Candy and See You Space Cowboy like just played it till like 1:30 in the morning or something. But like they were like, yeah, that was a way better vibe than playing to 800 kids who were just standing there like bobbing their heads along.
Yeah, just staring at you.
Yeah. We've talked about Unit 4 so much, but I feel like we should kind of go into like the context about like running that spot and kind of we've talked about a few of those things, but like what are like a couple like key memories for you from that?
Fuck, man. Like Unit 4 was insane. So like when we started doing cross genre shows, we would hit up SoundCloud rappers or like we knew people or whoever it was, right?
Mhm.
They would bring like tons of people, like overpack the place into the parking lot. They'll build a stage in the venue. Like they'll bring their own stage. Like they're crazy. Like they're rich. Like they would go crazy. And the amount of shit that happened at Unit 4, like the amount of shows we had, the cross genre shows, the death metal shows, the beatdown shows, like the most memorable ones are the ones that got like way out of control. And we had to like bear mace the crowd and like straight up like kick people out and like drag people out by their hair because like they're not cooperating. It was like just me and like two people running security at like a fucking 100 cap venue. Like and they're bringing like 400 people. Like
Right, right.
so there was that. There's the time the PO officer showed up and like I was making sure I wasn't in violation of parole and like I was. So I was like hiding inside the venue.
Oh shit. You're like,
Like
don't let him get inside here.
straight
I'm
up,
like,
like no one's home.
yeah, yeah. I'm trying to remember because I was just like, this is one of the coolest ass things I've seen from your world. We're I can't remember if there was a show that you were running and someone was, because there's a bunch of like graffiti and just like art that
Yeah.
people would do. But I'm trying to remember this right. Was someone tagging while a band was playing?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. So that
Bro,
was a common
yeah.
occurrence.
That's Unit 4 for you. Like
Yeah.
that's in a nutshell. Like we don't give a fuck at that place. Like if you come and you respect me, you respect the rules, you're fine. And we had a great time, bro. If it was still running, I'd be the happiest guy alive. But unfortunately, like legally, I was not on the lease and I cannot control the downfall. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. But one day, I think I will open a venue. It's just a matter of time. I think it's not an if, it's a when.
Yeah. I think that there are definitely people that are like they think like, because I think about that all the time. It's like I just want to have a space that I can like do my podcast and like hang out with my friends like upstairs, and then downstairs maybe there needs to be some kind of business end to kind of like generate the income to make it happen. But then there's, after 5 p.m. all the normies leave and then the hardcore kids come in.
Exactly. That's the dream, is like build a business where you can also have the shows happen. And that's what we've done in Arizona, is like use homie spots, like Jimmy from the Beautiful Ones, the guitarist, just opened up, like he runs a food truck. He just opened up a brick and mortar and is doing that now. So like we'd like hit up someone like him, be like, hey, can we play a show at your spot? And like we would do it back in the day. Like that's how we would find our spots.
Right.
But yeah, it's definitely tough. It's not as easy as it used to be, but luckily like everyone's on good terms. And if we need to date somewhere, like if we need the underground, we get the underground, like, but it's just, we need more than just that. We need something in Phoenix. We need something, because this is East Mesa we're talking about. We have the whole valley. We have Tucson. We have Flagstaff. We got bands everywhere, hours away. Like, and they have their venues. Like we play backyards in Tucson, and we've played,
Yeah. And sometimes like you like being in Arizona, you don't want to be playing outside
you
in
don't
the middle of the summer.
you don't, and especially like on concrete, like moshing on concrete and hurting yourself, like not fun.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the outside shows suck here, but like we do that a lot. I know Tucson's a big fan of the outside scene. They had a spot, but I think it just got fire department fucked. But that one just opened and closed. I forgot the name. It was like so quick. It's like as soon as they open, they catch us, and like, but Unit 4 survived because we're in a gated fucking community. Like you got to get in the gate and then find the spot. The cops could never get in. Like they would be waiting in patrol cars because they'd see everyone in there. They could never get in the gate. We'd lock the gate.
Oh, interesting.
We would unplug the gate so the cops couldn't get in, and we just let the show go. After a certain time, no one else can get in, right? Like that type of vibe.
That's so funny. You guys are just like hot, like just messing with the actual wiring of the gates.
But we didn't want them in, and there's only one
so
exit.
Smart.
It's like you got, and then at the end of the night, plug it back in, let everyone leave. The cops like try to catch some people, but they don't, and it's like we get away with it because they don't know what unit was doing it. So easy. It was fun.
Easy.
Was fun.
Were there any, I guess, like in your experience doing Unit 4, thinking about like if there's something in the future, whether that's a year from now or 5 or 10 years from now, was there any like moments that you like had like a lesson learned from doing that? You're like, oh, like I'm glad that I know this now if I was going to do my own venue again.
Always have security.
Always have security.
That's literally it. Like everything else was smooth as can be. There's just times when like one person can't handle everything, or like two people can't handle everything. It's like I would be on stage with a fucking baseball bat, like straight up next to the band playing, making sure kids are staying in line, because like Unit 4 got crazy a lot. So it's like just respect the spot. That's it. But in the future, just people will know in the future when I open a venue to respect the spot.
Of course. Yeah.
If not, security. Definitely learned that lesson.
Yeah. The security is this baseball bat coming to your teeth.
Facts.
Yeah. But I think that's interesting too, because you also need to have that person either from the culture or who can understand it. Because we've all seen the security videos of some band like Terror playing because they're on tour with fucking Black Dahlia area.
Beating ass, like everyone's beating security's ass, and like, yeah, Rolo's my go-to guy. He's in Sledgehammer as well. Rolo from Zodiac. He's run security at like 8 bars out here. He's the guy I would call if I need help. But he's actually playing a show tonight. Nozo's playing a show tonight. When is that? A couple hours. Anyways, yeah. Yeah, I
can't go too long. I gotta go see No Zodiac.
Gotta support the homies, but that's way later.
Yeah. Since you brought up Sledgehammer, that's one of the last projects that I definitely want to make sure that we chat about. Kind of a unexpected surprise to like, but like knowing just off of the conversations that we having, it was like a no-brainer for you to be also doing vocals in a slam band.
Yeah.
I think the name is like so right, and the artwork for the first drop, I was like, holy fuck, this is like
Just wait
some
till you see.
mosaic like Jesus shit.
Just wait till you see the artwork for like the actual release, because we released a single after that with something that our homie gave us, and I was like, let's just like wait for the full release, and we didn't. So when that full drop comes out and you see that album art, you're gonna love it if you love the first one, bro. Because like, it's cohesive, it's amazing. Sledgehammer is like Rolo, no Zodiac, Dylan, no Zodiac, Taylor, X Easy Money, and myself. So that's the band that has the X Easy Money.
Okay, so
And
maybe that's where I was getting a little
yes,
tripped up.
yes.
Yeah.
So Taylor plays bass in Sledgehammer, and we're essentially just been a studio band, but we've got like fucking like 9 songs written, just trying to dial in which ones are like the ones we want. And that's a project that I'm the most excited about after Two Guns, but almost at the same time, just as excited, just because it's so much fun. Like hitting those ranges is fun.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think that's always been the thing that I've always been very impressed by you, because it's like, I also have to give you credit for helping put me on to my one of my favorite European bands, which is Guilt Trip, because you did a feature on their EP, and like Jay and I have become friends now. Like it's pretty wild. But the fact that you can do the highs, the lows, the growls, this man can sing. Like it seems like you can just do it all, and that's always been very intriguing to me, especially recently as I've like moved into a vocalist spot and I'm like kind of finding things out on my own. Like, is there any vocal influences that you take from, or are you just like a full combination of all the shit that you were just finding about?
Yeah, I would say anything I've ever heard, I've tried to duplicate or replicate. And I will try and try and try until I fail or succeed or break my voice, right? Like, as far as techniques go, I don't have one. Like, I don't know what fry scream is or fucking whatever terms they use. I just know that I can exhale certain noises, and in the studio, Dylan really pushes me to like see how far I can go. And he's unlocked this range that you heard in Sledgehammer on that first drop. That's like super low, super high, breeze, like able to hit everything. And the hardcore shit's just natural, like screaming, like easy, like you don't really think about it too much. It's the deathcore shit's more like you got to have the finesse and you got to hit the timings right. And the new songs are going to blow everyone away. I'm excited to drop those. I think it's going to be like, there's no band that sounds like the shit we got going on right now.
No. And I don't know. I'm selfishly like, I'm trying to manifest a fucking Sledgehammer Facelift and Peeling Flesh show of some kind.
I would love to. We love them. Dude. Yeah, we keep in touch too. I would love to do that. If they come to Arizona, we'll get on it. Sledgehammer just needs to release the next one, and then I guarantee you'll hear more from us, bro, because it's gonna shake things up a little bit. Remember Job for Cowboy?
What's that?
You remember the band Job for Cowboy?
Of course, yeah.
So Arizona was like known for Job for a Cowboy, right? Like that's years and years and years ago. They don't rep our city. They don't care about the scene. They don't play shows here. They haven't in forever. I think initially with Sledgehammer, I was like, let's do a Job for a Cowboy thing. Like, let's just like be known for being the insane band from Arizona that's death metal, right? Like we have Gate Creeper. They're awesome, right? But the style obviously way different.
Right, for sure. Do you think that there's like, excuse me, this zone
that bed's just hitting.
Yeah, it's hitting different. This is a solid 9. If I'm gonna hit the Bev scale, I'm into this.
I'm gonna switch to the pink drink.
Oh.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
Every time.
It's the actual strawberries in there that are sending it to a full status. Do you think that Arizona has like is a scene where it's like people don't realize that band is from there? Because sometimes like
Yeah, I
I'm
get
like, oh yeah, Gate Creeper is from Arizona. Oh yeah,
yeah.
Beautiful Ones is from like.
Yeah, we are off the map in that sense. People do not know what we've never had. Like, there's been Arizona death metal fests and things like that in the past that I've attended. Like, saw Winds of Plague back in the day in 2013. Like, there's been fests of that caliber with those styles of bands. Every now and then we'll have a hardcore festival, but I do not think that anybody who listens to us knows where we're from unless we're repping it. You know what I mean? Like, you have to say you're from Arizona for them to know what Arizona is, because they
Right.
think West Coast, East Coast, maybe Florida. That's where the hardcore bands
Maybe
come from.
some Midwest, maybe some Southern
Maybe,
shit. Yeah.
yeah, maybe some Southern shit. Like, yeah, like not you see what Knock Loose did to fucking the bands out there. Like, every band out there has attention now, right? Like,
Mhm.
it's good when a band comes out and emerges. And I think that, like, when Gate Creeper came out and emerged, like, people started looking at Arizona more, but there weren't a lot of bands active at the time. Um,
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a very good point, actually.
yeah, and then
Mhm.
now there's a ton of bands active currently. So yeah, hopefully, like, we can put ourselves on the map, but that's literally up to us playing good music and making good music.
Yeah. No, I just think that's a very interesting point. It's like when a band is having a moment, if there aren't other bands in the mix, it'll just be like, oh, that's like the one off. And I think people will jump to those conclusions a little bit more, especially if a scene is like a little bit more underdog. Like
Exactly.
it's very apparent even going back a couple of years ago when it was like the Gulch, Tsunami, like all the Bay bands. Like there's even more Bay bands that people were,
Mhm.
finding out about and are popping now, which is great to see. But
Because
yeah,
they were hit so hard, right?
right. But they
Exactly.
had like the band, so it's like if you only have
We did
like
not. Yeah. I mean,
if
we
you only
had
have three bands and then like one's
we
popping,
weren't all connected like we are now, and it's like all different back then. Like,
right?
the time and place will come for Arizona to be like, that's an Arizona band, I can tell. Like, I feel like that time will come for everyone everywhere. It's all circular, eventually a band pops off somewhere and then creates a chain reaction of bands, and then, it's been, what is it, like, started in middle school, so it's almost been a decade and like couple years that I've been going to shows, and like I've seen the waxing and the waning and the waxing and the waning, and it's like the strongest it's ever been right now. So I'm stoked.
Yeah. Do you think that there's any, I guess, like misconceptions about like just Arizona in general, whether like hardcore or not, that you can dispel?
No.
No. Okay.
On that question,
It's
no.
hot.
Yeah,
It's dry.
dry. I think like there's a certain stigma, but I think that's been solved.
Okay. What's the best Arizona exclusive? And that could be like food, uh, chains, like like store chains, anything that's like
Yeah.
this is ours.
Let me think. This is a good one. El Gordo Mexican food.
El Gordo.
El Gordo Mexican food is like, if you ever go to Arizona, if you type in El Gordo, it's not going to look the best, I promise. It's like attached to a gas station, but it's the most authentic Mexican food. It's delicious. I cannot stop eating it.
Yeah, the third the third hit is in Tempe, and it's not a photo of the restaurant, it's the photo of the gas station attached to it. That's so sick.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually like beyond good. And like, I'll tell my friends, like, yo, let's hit up El Gordo. It's still open. They'll be like, a gas station food? I'm like, bro, trust me. And then they eat it. And they're like, fuck yeah. It
Dude,
knocks it out of the park.
the
It's
next time I'm
nuts.
there, I'm hitting El Gordo.
We'll go together.
Dude, I would love that straight up.
Uh,
Um well, Troy, as we start to end kind of like towards the end of the episode, I always end all of our podcasts with a kind of a go-to mosh story of yours. And that could be I did this happened to me, it happened at a show I was playing or a show I was attending, whatever's like the first year head when it comes to like moshing and the violence and all that good shit.
I think like breaking every bone in my hand during Nasty in Germany.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was like kind of doing the thing where you're like spinning around the crowd, hitting everybody, right? Like
Oh,
that.
you kind of do the you know those toys where it's like the sticky hands and you're like throwing it? It's kind of like you
Yeah,
do that and then
yeah.
you
And
just
then,
kind of go
but
around.
then you just go around and around and around. Yeah.
Exactly.
Doing one
Exactly.
of those, and someone's fucking head was hard, and I broke like all of it, all of the hand. That was my favorite mosh toy.
You punch Wolverine in the face or something.
Yes, I have
You
no
felt
idea
the
who it was.
adamantium.
They hurt me more than I hurt them, and at that point, I was like, "Nasty, you're great, but my hand hurts. I gotta go." And luckily, healthcare is free. So
That's good. In Europe.
yeah,
Yeah.
they fixed me right up after, and
Dude.
they were like, "You're good to go." And then, funny story after that. I'll give you one more
Sure.
funny story from the road. Our guitarist was like, my dick is burning. I'm peeing. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. Like maybe it's the water from Europe. Like maybe it's like this, that. I couldn't tell what it was. So like as they're fixing my hand, he's bringing it up to the paramedics, and we're like in a McDonald's parking lot. And he's like, my dick hurts. He's like freaking out. And all the paramedics are laughing because he had gonorrhea. And
What?
yeah, and all the paramedics were trying to like talk to him, but they speak German, and all they could say was that word. And he's like, no. He's like screaming in the parking lot, and people in McDonald's are laughing at him. That was like the best one from Europe for sure.
Germans just know the word gonorrhea and not much
That's it.
else.
That's it.
I guess that's it. Well, Troy, I'm honestly this has been a personal fave of mine this season. I really appreciate you giving me some of your time and chatting
Bro,
about your bands. You know, like not to like oversell it, but like I really admire a lot of the musical work that you've done, and
thank you.
I think it's influenced me a lot over the years, especially with my projects.
I appreciate
All
you.
the links for your shirt will be in the description of this podcast, in the show notes. Anything you want to plug, anything you want to send the people off on, or anything you want to shout out.
Just keep an eye on Arizona. That's it. Um, Also, Spencer, thank you for having me. I've been waiting for this as well.
Happy to have you, friend, and I hope we get to do it again sometime soon. And
Sure.
El Gordo, to
El
be
Gordo.
determined as to when,
Yes,
but it's gonna happen.
yes, sir.